Sometimes when I'm thinking about us, before we got lost and we parted, back to back we would carry on and we'd do anything for what we started. But this time we could break. I'm running dry, everything's the same. We'll try tonight, but this time we're not safe and sound. Not safe and sound. What if I'm no good for you? What if you're no good for me? Yeah. What if I'm no good for you? What if you're no good for me? Yeah. Sometimes when I'm reasoning about us, I know you got me, it's so effortless. Back to back we would carry on and we'd do anything for what we started. But this time we could break. I'm running dry, everything's the same. We'll try tonight, but this time we're not safe and sound. Not safe and sound. What if I'm no good for you? What if you're no good for me? Yeah. What if I'm no good for you? What if you're no good for me? Yeah. What if I'm no good for you? What if you're no good for me? Yeah. What if I'm no good for you? What if you're no good for me? Yeah. What if I'm no good for you? What if you're no good for me? Yeah. What if I'm no good for you? What if you're no good for me? Yeah. What if I'm no good for you? What if you're no good for me? Yeah. What if I'm no good for you? What if you're no good for me? Yeah. What if I'm no good for you? What if you're no good for me?
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the FPV News with JB and ItsBlunty. How you doing, Blunty?
Good, Joshua. How's it going?
I'm doing real good. I'm gonna check my volume because it sounds too loud.
Yeah, I think you're still hot
Yes.
from the stream we did.
Maybe. Oh, there we go. That's better. I don't want to be louder. People are going to be like, JB makes himself louder because he doesn't respect Blunty and shushes him. No, we need balance so that people can appreciate our professional. I did have a really good time playing Cuphead with you. I haven't played Cuphead in probably months, maybe even longer. That game makes a hell of a stream. You just do the same thing again and again and again and repeatedly fail. But people seem to enjoy it.
Yeah, because they never know when you're going to get it, you know, and you make
Right.
progress.
The one time you actually get it and beat the boss, then it's worth it.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. We did that over on my channel.
Correct.
I do a Q and play every day, except for news days. Still been doing that every day, so we'll see how long I can keep that up. But yeah,
we should be plugging that. I mean, that's the first news item of the week. Q and play. So what's a Q and so you weren't streaming for a while. You were doing Q&As, then you stopped streaming, you were busy with other stuff. But now what's a Q and play?
So basically, I like to play video games. People want to talk to me on a stream, so I figured let's combine them. So I'll play video games, and then you guys can talk and ask questions on stream. And then sometimes, like, I'll pause and cut away. We'll go look at some stuff on the, you know, like kind of like we do here. We'll go look at the articles or go look at the products and stuff, just like a normal Q&A. And then we'll pop back in the game and play for a while. So if nothing's happening, I'm playing video games. And if you've got questions, you can stop by and I'll answer them. So
I should do that as an excuse to just turn my video games into tax write-offs. I've been playing Factorio for the last like month. My son got Factorio. I don't know if you guys know what Factorio is. It doesn't really matter. My son got Factorio. He's like, download this game and play it with me. We played one game, and then he was on to the next thing, and then it hooked me. I currently have 102 hours of playtime on Factorio.
All right.
In like the last month.
Nice. My yesterday I played Satisfactory on stream for the first time, so I'm working through that. That's like 3D Factorio kind of.
I know that one. Yeah, that one's pretty good too. Anyway, yeah, 100. Hey, you know what?
Yeah,
everybody's got.
If you're having fun. Yeah,
I am. But in fact, what Ghost Branch reached out to me. It was like 3 a.m, and of course, he's in Germany. So he was like, "Oh, hey, I see you're playing Factorio on Steam. Yeah, you should check out this other game, Satisfactory." And I was like, "You know what? I'm not sure I want people to know I'm up at 3 a.m. playing Factorio. I marked my Steam profile private. Like, I'm just gonna keep that between me and myself." Anyway, all right. But that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about the news in the world of FPV.
Yeah. Absolutely.
There's some big stuff this week, Blunty. What are the top stories this week, Blunty? Start us off.
Okay, so this week we're going to talk about Thingiverse. It's been hacked, and hopefully you weren't affected because you do proper procedures and protocols, and you knew about this already, but we'll tell you how to do that coming up.
Yeah, and EdgeTX 2.5 is out. Very exciting. EdgeTX 1.0 was only a month ago. It feels like it was a month ago, maybe a little longer. It's a new firmware you can put on your OpenTX radios, and the advantage of it is that it updates every now and then with like big features and stuff. So we'll talk about what is in EdgeTX 2.5 and maybe why you should be excited.
Yeah. We'll talk about Chris Rosser's new video. He has invented a new carbon fiber type, a new layup. So we'll talk about the benefits of that and why you might use it, and maybe what the downsides are of it, and all that jazz.
And one of the biggest stories this week, well, I don't know if it's the biggest story this week, but so many of you sent this in to news@fpvknowitall.com. And we're like, okay, I guess we got to cover this story. The CycloTech Cyclogyro flying car. It's like a quadcopter, but it doesn't have props. It has cyclo rotors. So we're going to talk about that. And more. There's more down in the video description are the show notes with links and all the stuff we're going to talk about. But let's start off, Blunty, with a public service announcement for a lot of people, I imagine, in the FPV world have Thingiverse accounts. Thingiverse has gotten hacked.
Yes, it has. Unfortunately, there was a hack on Thingiverse's database, and they have gotten a whole bunch of stuff. They basically got, a ton of data. It seems like it got cut off like 8 months ago or something, was kind of the break point. But there was a ton of data in there. The kind of the curious thing here is it took them a little while to, actually address that this was a real thing. They kind of were silent for a little while. And then they put out this notice, and unfortunately the notice says, "We've issued a notice to affected users and encourage you to update the password of your Thingiverse account. We apologize for this inconvenience," but it says some non-sensitive user data was exposed. Now, the problem with that is it turns out the leak was unsalted hashes of passwords. So
that's bad.
Yeah, with brute forcing and some rainbow tables,
exactly.
You're going to get
obviously
right. You're going to get right through that. So
no, and I'm kind of joking because I imagine some of the people watching don't know what a rainbow table is or a brute force. But suffice it to say that if you have non-salted hashed passwords, the passwords are obfuscated, but there are fairly simple attacks that can be used to reveal your password. So it's not just like they could get into your Thingiverse account. It's like they would know that you used Hunter123 as your password, and then theoretically they would be able to go after all your other accounts where you used the same password because that's what a lot of people do.
Yeah, just to be clear, Riet9 says, I guess he deleted, but yeah, so unsalted basically means that it's been encrypted, but it hasn't been randomly encrypted. So it's encrypted, but you can basically use tables and lookups to brute force all that stuff back out of it with lookup tables. Where if it's salted, then you have random data that's salted into that, and it's much more difficult or impossible to get all that stuff out of there.
Yes, correct. So Thingiverse is trying to downplay it a little bit. And a lot of times when there is a leak of user data, they will leak the password table. And passwords should never be stored unsalted. The hashes should never be stored unsalted, much like steak. Because just as a matter of security practice, it is a travesty that the unsalted password hashes even existed on Thingiverse's server to get leaked. So Thingiverse, bad slap on the hand for that, but for then Thingiverse to try to play it down like, it's just the hashed passwords. No, it's a big deal. So we want to talk a little bit about password best practices, because a lot of people, they use the same password on all their websites because it's a pain to keep different passwords. What is something people can do, Blunty, to protect themselves from this in the future?
Well, so there's a lot of different options. One thing I just want to I think we should start with upfront is there is a website called haveibeenpwned.com. And that is linked in the show notes. But basically, you can go sign up here with your email address. And that way, you'll get notified when this happens. But you can also just look up your email address or now your phone number and
let me
see
just put my phone number right here.
And see how many data breaches your email address has been a part of. So this will give you some indication, at least, of when a data breach happens, because you'll get an email, maybe after the case. And then you'll also get information about what has been compromised.
So we can see here, my email address, joshuabardwell@gmail.com, has been part of several data breaches. Apollo, Canva, Discus. I should stop scrolling before we see that embarrassing website that I don't want you to know I was part of. Kickstarter, Evite, and everybody, you can check yourself there. But here's the thing, Blunty. If you have previously been part of a data breach, what should you do about it?
Well, so so there's a couple things here. One is, like you mentioned before, stop using passwords, all the same passwords everywhere. You should be using, typically these day and age, most people are using some kind of password manager.
Yeah.
So like LastPass is a great option.
Yeah.
There are a couple different password managing programs, but basically they'll generate you a password that will work for each individual website. And then you'll have a master password with them. And typically there's some use a local key storage, some use physical access. There's a bunch of different options for how you can do it. Mm-hmm. But basically you'll verify there, and then you can edit or change them if you need to. But then every time you go to a new website, you'll generate a password. And then if anybody gets that, there's nothing they can do with that.
So I don't want to go too far into this because I don't want to risk accidentally showing something on stream that I shouldn't show. Although I don't think that should happen, because obviously if someone were to sit down at my computer and just hit open my vault, right, then they should be limited to what they could see. But this is my private computer, so their security is a little bit more lax. But there's this plugin here for LastPass, right? And you can generate a secure password. It can be any length you want, 40 characters, right? And you say, well, how am I going to remember that? Well, you're not. That's the point. LastPass will remember the password. You remember your master password, or if you're on phone, you can even use your fingerprint instead of a master password. It's up to you. You generate a unique password for every website, and then it just autofills them. You remember your one secure master password, and then when there's a breach like this, you go, oh crap, well, Thingiverse got pwned, but none of the other sites that I'm on, I don't have to worry about them. And I just go change my Thingiverse password, and I'm good to go.
Yes. Also, just something to know, it is possible for your password manager to get breached as well. But if you use a proper password manager, most of them have storage separately so that they can't even decrypt all your keys. All that decryption happens between. So yeah, just vet the services that you're using, but any of them are better than using one password for everything. The other big thing we should mention is two-factor authentication. So most sites these days allow you to do two-factor authentication, which means in some way or another, whether a Google Authenticator app or just using your phone number, right, something like that, you'll get some kind of message or information or have to verify a number that's constantly changing or emailed to you, right? And then you'll have to enter that to log in. So no matter if somebody has your password, only on websites that you don't have two-factor on can they actually do anything with it. Otherwise, you'll just get a message on your phone, somebody's trying to log in, and then nothing will happen.
Yeah. And so, for example, two-factor authentication, you can get your own, you can get a dedicated little keyring dongle that is your two-factor key. One IFPV in the Discord points out that Titan security key is one. There are others. And you can also get an authenticator app for your phone, in which case your phone basically becomes your two-factor key. The disadvantage of that is if someone gets your phone, then they've got your key and potentially your password manager. But there's no perfect solution. But almost anything is better than just using your birthday as the password
Yeah.
for all your sites.
Yeah, real quick, this SMS is not secure thing is totally ridiculous for a normal person. Like,
Well-
it is absolutely secure for a normal person. Nobody is spoofing your SIM card to get your fucking SMS 2FA. That is not happening. For anybody who's not like a security professional at a place, and you
or-
will know this.
A YouTuber.
Yes, like somebody like who
But-
has things to steal. Like nobody is
Yeah.
spoofing your SIM card for 2FA. Like that is not happening.
However, I'm not talking about it. No, SMS, of course not. As someone who, I guarantee you, several times a year someone tries to hack my accounts, if only because my YouTube account is probably worth a lot of money if someone were to get it and then turn it all into cryptocurrency videos. I shouldn't show it on screen because it has all my 2FA codes, but it's an app that you run on your phone and it generates the 2FA codes. It's not SMS based. So I agree that SMS based is not ideal. It's better, but Ken Piper is right. SMS based two-factor is better than no two-factor for the majority of people. So
Yes. I'm saying use your phone number. It's totally fucking fine. That's what I'm going to tell you right now. Look, nobody's spoofing your SIM card. Think of the amount of work it takes to spoof your SIM card. That's not happening. People have been targeted, yes, but you are not getting targeted. Do you have a bunch of crypto? Do you have a bunch of money in an account? Do you have all your banking done on your shit? Do you have like a bunch of security stuff you don't want people to find or private messages? Do you run a business? Do you have a bunch of money?
Well, here's the
things
problem.
mean you should not do dumb things and you should know how to back all your stuff up. But if none of those things are true, which is 98% of the people that are here listening to this and most people that will ever hear this, you should use SMS 2FA. It's perfectly fucking fine. That's all that I'm saying. I just hear that a lot, and it's really upsetting because I think most people have all this other stuff, and then, I broke my phone, so now I don't have my backups because I forgot to back up my Google Authenticator, and I'm a normal person who didn't need it anyway in the first place.
Well, that's why I use LastPass Authenticator. That automatically backs up your two factors. So, like, if you have your phone as your two-factor authenticator, and then you break your phone, or you lose your phone, now you're boned. You can't log into any of your sites. LastPass backs up to the cloud. So basically, my LastPass password and my two-factor is my LastPass two-factor codes are the master key to my entire kingdom. And my theory is that if I have one password and one set of two-factor codes that I must protect at all costs, that's better than having a whole bunch of stuff spread out that is at risk. But then if somebody does get it, then I'm completely owned. So anyway, good. That's our public service announcement for the week, and a little bit of rant. I didn't realize you felt so strongly about this, Blunty.
I mean, listen. Like it's just a base station with decryption with SDR. Like, who is doing that for some guy's like email address? Like, it's just not happening. That's all what I'm saying.
They're not doing the base station. They'll just do they'll do social engineering is how they'll do the SMS attack.
Yes. Yeah.
So they'll social engineer. They'll get them to change the SIM card in the store or whatever, and then they get in.
Yeah, and that takes X amount of work for the person that.
Correct. I'll say one more thing. The real attack that I've heard of is that they get you on the phone and they say, "Hold on a second, I'm going to send you an authentication code just to make sure I'm really talking to you." Then they try to log into your account. You get the code and you tell them what the code is. It's, again, social engineering. You are the weakest link in the security chain.
Yes, if you do dumb stuff, you're going to get messed up. That's for sure.
All right. Well, let's move on to talking about FPV, more directly FPV related stuff. And we will talk about EdgeTX. EdgeTX 2.5 is released. Blunty, do we want to just do a short recap on what is EdgeTX for the people who may not be sort of keeping up?
Sure. So EdgeTX is essentially, so OpenTX is hanging out, and it has kind of not really stagnated, but it's not been pushing forward major versions for a while. They've been doing minor version changes, and sometimes it takes quite a long time between those minor version changes. And there were some complaints from developers about trying to get some PRs accepted and some stuff moving forward. So a couple people took it part of themselves to move and create EdgeTX, which under the blessings of the OpenTX developers, created a version of basically OpenTX 2.4, which we waited for a while, which supported a lot of the things that we were looking for, like touchscreen radios or things like that, different radios that weren't supported, and then some extra features that we didn't see, like 1-bit mode we got added, which is like a software ability to fix the FreeSky hardware issues with inverters. So now we're getting OpenTX or EdgeTX 2.5, which is the next version.
Yeah, so let's take a look at what's in EdgeTX 2.5, codenamed Dauntless. Ooh, fancy. public service announcement about backing up your models and radio settings, and also a few other things before you upgrade. Always, you shouldn't need a backup, but if you do need it, you'll be glad you've got it. Preliminary support for the FlySky Nirvana. That's exciting.
Yes.
That thing hasn't had a firmware update in a long freaking time. Anybody who still has that radio, very glad to hear that, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's a little weird form factor, so I think it's taken a little while, but they're finally getting it taken care of. So also this release, I believe, is the first one that's coming finally with installation packages for Companion. So now right here in the releases, you'll be able to download the EdgeTX Companion right along with EdgeTX, and then everything should be all compatible and easy to set up.
Yeah, and then just some sort of bug fixes and smaller feature improvements. Widgets now have touchscreen support.
Yeah, lots of collected changes that people have been working on for a while, all pushed together into this release. One thing to note, lots of extra support, lots of changes and stuff, but there is going to be a lack of support, unfortunately. So RadioKing, some of you guys might be familiar with the RadioKing TX18S. So that was a radio that came out for a little while. Unfortunately, RadioKing has not released their source code. They're kind of in GPL violation, and nobody's really heard from RadioKing. They're not responding to anybody. So unfortunately, because of the ability to support it, they are dumping the RadioKing TX18S.
Yeah. And the RadioKing, I mean, it was, some people suspected that RadioKing was actually Jumper, because Jumper got some flack when they first came out. FreeSky was mad at Jumper, and then Banggood didn't carry Jumper because FreeSky is such a big player that I guess they didn't want to piss them off. And then RadioKing came out, and I speculated, and I have no basis for this. It is pure speculation. It's irresponsible of me to even say it, probably. But I speculated that it was actually Jumper trying to get around that ban. Oh, it's a RadioKing, see? But now apparently RadioKing, I mean, it was just a Jumper radio, right? It was pretty much just a Jumper radio. Now RadioKing is missing in action, huh?
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but yeah, that is the case. So if you wanted to follow what's going to happen with EdgeTX moving forward, though, they have released a roadmap. We've linked that in the show notes here. But yeah, we've got a roadmap coming up, so you can see where the development is moving to. So like what the plan is, when they're going to come out. They're aiming for quarterly releases now, so next story should be around Christmas for the winter solstice release.
Nice. I'm kind of surprised if that RadioKing doesn't just use like the Jumper T16 target or the RadioMaster TX16S target. Why would it have its own custom firmware and custom target if it's just a clone of those radios? That's pretty weird.
I don't know.
I don't know either. Why did they single out Jumper and not RadioMaster Terminal Insanity? Because RadioMaster didn't exist then. Jumper was first. Jumper came out with the Jumper T8, I think, right? Or T16? Where's the T8?
T16, I think,
the T16.
was, yeah. I'm not sure.
And then the T18. Yeah. The Jumper T16 was the first of this batch of radios like the Jumper T18, the RadioMaster TX16S, that all came from Jumper originally. Even the RadioMaster was, there's some politics there about the relationship between them and Jumper that we won't get into.
Yeah.
So they were first, and they used the QX7 as the basis. They used the QX7 target as the basis of the T16. And FreeSky said, hey, you're cloning you're stealing our IP. And they were like, whatever, it's an open source. We can build hardware that runs this target. It's open source. I personally have to agree with them on that one. But FreeSky made a big stink. And some stores, they basically, some stores chose not to carry Jumper because they were concerned about what FreeSky might do if they carried Jumper. Let's just put it that way. And then they stopped carrying, right? Terminal Insanity. I guess they stopped carrying by the time the TX16S came out, because the TX16S is no different from the QX7 than the Jumper T16 is. They're none of them are identical, chip for chip copies. They're just They're just compatible with the firmware. Anyway, that's all politics from the past. All right, EdgeTX 2.5, link in the video description. Next up, a flying car with cycloidal rotors. I think what we should do, Blunty, is just play this video, because everyone kept forwarding me this video. And then you've got some history and background. So let me bring up this video, though.
Music is ridiculous.
What's that?
The music is ridiculous.
Okay, I have the music muted.
Okay, cool.
So the music is ridiculous. So
It's just all like super dramatic, like.
what the frick? Like a belt drive. So what are we looking at here, Blunty? What are these cycloidal rotors?
Yeah, so basically, yeah, this idea is called cycloidal rotors, and we'll look at it just in a second where we looked at it before on the news. But basically, the idea is that you've got these spinning rotors, and these spinning rotors have these vanes, these little wings or vanes inside there, and they're going to turn, and that's what gives the authority to the rotor to actually do something other than just kind of blow.
So
right?
they're
So
changing their pitch as it rotates in the same way that a helicopter blade through its it's collective, one of the two, changes the pitch of the helicopter rotor as it rotates. Is that what's going on?
Yeah. Basically, each of those little vanes in there has the ability to rotate, or has the ability to go back and forth on its own, and then it's using those to control, basically. So this is, to be fair, this is the first flight they've done, I believe, where it's actually like going and kicking and going good. But they feel like this is just like the first time they've actually been able to kind of get it all together. But they feel like this is like right there where they're ready to go, and now that it's going to be good to move forward with, because this is kind of a proven technology. I don't think with 4 rotors it's been seen quite like this, but.
Well, is there more information about the CycloTech Cyclogyro, Blunty, or where should we go next?
Not too much. They didn't give us too much information. There's only that one flight they've ever done, and it's just kind of marketing on their website. Is the info they have on it. But I figured maybe we would take a look at some of the previous cyclogyro, cyclorotor stuff and kind of see where it came from. So I figured first we'd look real quick at like what we looked at previously on the news a couple months ago, which is the cycloidal rotor drone. And this is the one that had the 2 cycloidal rotors on the back, and then he basically built with servos, and then a single propeller in the front for the stabilization.
Wow, this concept has been around for a long freaking time.
Yes, it has.
I see. So, yeah, go ahead.
So I figured I would kind of take a look back at like the modern cycloidal rotor stuff we've done here. So there's this, but then this is more modern. But if we look at the next video, it'll be kind of the first one I was able to find. And it's kind of just an article here, but it's the first one I was able to find.
Wow, you can really see it, can't you? At the top, it is pitched up. At the bottom, it's pitched the opposite way, so it's pushing up. And then as it goes through the left and right, it's sort of neutral, so it produces no thrust there. That is something.
Yeah, just to be clear, guys, this is not using Magnus effect. This is a different effect. Cycloidal rotors like move, so there's no Magnus effect.
Yeah. Which of these do you want to look at? The next one?
Yes,
D-Dallas?
Yeah, the next one we'll take a look at real quick. I just thought this was cool because back in 2012, somebody was actually making drones with these on them. So this is a little drone with 4 of these cyclorotors on it. I thought this was a pretty interesting little design.
Yeah, 2012. That was a long time ago.
Yeah, and then next up we can look at the world's smallest cyclocopter, which still I believe is the record for the smallest cyclocopter. Does the same idea, but they've kind of compacted everything together.
29 grams. Jeez. Oh my gosh. Look at the props or the the vanes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do we get to see it fly? Yeah,
a little bit. Yeah.
Woo! Now this one's cheating a little bit because it's got a tail rotor for counter torque.
Yeah, so that's traditionally how they've been done most of the time. I was able to find the next video here, which is a 4 cyclorotor vehicle, similar to the one we looked at by CycloTech. Yeah, that one there. But it's interesting because it's essentially, they call it all-terrain because they're actually driving on the ground with it too. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, I see how that could. If you're on smooth ground, you could drive. I mean, if it was rough ground, you'd tear up the vanes.
Yep. And then they basically set it, and then fire it up, and then go straight up.
Wow. I guess the question that comes to my mind, Blunty, is what are the advantages of this approach, which is mechanically quite complex? I mean, spinning something mechanical like that at thousands of RPM is ample opportunity for something to break. Why not just use props?
So my understanding is it is better efficiency. The problem is that it's about control now that there's an issue with control over efficiency. And then the other big issue is that so you're essentially going to get way quieter because from what I was reading into it, essentially the way it creates the thrust doesn't have as much like air drag or whatever you would call it, and because of that, like you don't create the same frequency, and so the effect of the sound is way better for most cases. But unfortunately, like you said, there's a bunch of moving parts, and it's very easy for the drivetrains to break down. So
that's what it seems like to me. Like the advantage of quadcopters is that we've got these outrunner motors, which are not the most durable things, but at the end of the day, you've just got a prop. There's nothing to break, well, except the motor in the ESC.
So let's look at our last link here. I just thought this was interesting because this is a concept I would have not considered without seeing it. Pitch Arrow has this solution, which actually is pretty recent from the video they have down at the bottom here. But basically, they've created a normal inspection drone, but they're using the cyclorotor to stabilize that. So if you scroll down there, you can see in the center of this thing, they've put a cyclorotor. And so they're saying basically they could do super precision flight with a quad that's not really set up for super precision flight. Because the cyclorotor can keep them balanced. Interesting.
Yeah.
So pretty cool
because
concept.
the problem is that you've got the tool or payload or camera or whatever, the inspection device is sticking out the front. And so you've got a problem with balance and precision. You need to be able to get in there and like look at something.
Yeah, and they talk about how typically with drones, that means you need like this exclusion zone where you're not allowed to fly X close to the thing. Yeah. And so this hopefully will allow them, and their testing has allowed them to get much closer than you would expect.
And what it looks like is that with the cyclorotor on top, they can generate lateral thrust in any direction immediately without having to tilt the quadcopter. Well, it's not a quadcopter, it's a hex, but they can generate that lateral thrust without having to tilt, which means that there's no chance of like destabilizing it or accidentally tipping into something. That's pretty slick.
Or if you have a tool that can't be adjusted like that, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So it's basically just like a sideways facing motor, but the advantage is that you would need 4 sideways facing motors to generate lateral thrust in all the sort of cardinal directions. But with the cyclorotor, it can generate thrust in any direction at 360 degrees by changing where the vanes are positioned to generate thrust, if you will. Yeah. I guarantee you this is ArduPilot. By the way, trade secret, flight computer was, I guarantee you it's ArduPilot. It's just a custom build of Pixhawk, ArduPilot. Guarantee. I would bet $100 that that's ArduPilot.
Quick Flash points out. Yeah. Quick Flash points out the linchpin could do that too.
That's true. It has a lot. It has more motors, to be fair, but that is true. Very slick. Good to see you here, Quick Flash. Hope you're having fun with that project, working with Terrence Howard, and hope that's. We haven't heard a lot about it since the contest was finished. I'm sure they've been busy though. Alrighty, next up, Chris Rosser. Wow, we're a half hour in. We've done 3 of these items. It's going to be a long one if we don't speed up. Chris Rosser invented a new kind of carbon fiber. A new kind of carbon fiber, Blunty? Really? Have we not? Chris Rosser? What? Tell me more.
Yeah. All right. So basically, this, I'm going to say I typically like inventions like this where he's inventing something because he needed it. So what he was doing was basically designing his race frame. And when he was going through his race frame, he was trying to figure out how to build his race frame with his V style, because, in his AOS style design, there's a V. So the ends hit together, and then there's a flex he talks about, and that gives it the stability, the strength, and also the flexibility, right?
Yeah.
So instead, he realized, instead of trying to make this V with carbon, why don't I just change the layup so the V is inside the carbon? So essentially, he created a new layup, which is 0 degree for most of it. So most of the carbon is stacked the same direction. And then there's a middle sandwich. And the middle sandwich is essentially 45 degrees in either direction. And that makes it so the middle can do that flexibility, but the top and bottom maintain that stiffness. If you hit that the second video there.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Hang on, let me go back.
Yep.
Yeah, I was looking
There should
for.
be.
That's what I was looking for. I had the wrong video loaded. Well, people can talk. The first video that we were just looking at is Chris Rosser's just sort of tutorial on carbon fiber, and it's well worth it for anybody in FPV to learn more about how carbon fiber works. There are a lot of misconceptions, and he clears them up. But go ahead, Blunty.
Skip forward to about 345, somewhere in there, and then we can see him doing the comparison here. So if you look at his top arm there that's on the quad, you can see there's a sandwich in the center there, and that center is that V'd carbon, but the top and bottom are still stiff, rigid, traditional carbon. So basically, by changing the layup, it takes a little bit more money, so it's going to be like 25% extra material cost, not like total cut cost, but material cost. But instead, you'll gain this ability to flex, similar to his V design. So, pretty cool concept. Not a layup that's been used anywhere, at least for here. But he says, like in other things, like for some gold, like golf clubs, when they needed to make carbon fiber golf clubs with gold on them, they had to change the carbon layup so it would change the vibration of the gold when you hit it. And so they just do custom carbon layups like this. Pretty cool.
Yeah, that's when the headline said Chris Rosser invents a new kind of carbon fiber. I kind of squinted a little bit. It sounds like what's happened is he has understood. I mean, God forbid he understand the established engineering principles that apply to our problem, as he does, and he has brought them to FPV. That's what he's really done, and then he's gone above and beyond by setting up a supply chain for developing this, for manufacturing this material. And here's the beautiful thing. He is not just using it on his quadcopter frame, but he's making it available to any manufacturer anywhere who wants to buy it from him, which actually is kind of a smart move.
Yeah, he said
as well as...
he said if you want to buy it, it's $200 a sheet. If you want to get it cut somewhere, you can basically get it cut at CNC Madness right now. But if other companies want to buy his carbon to cut, he's definitely willing to sell it to him, of course. And then he said basically it's 20 to 25% extra cost right now. But unfortunately, that doesn't look like it's going to come down because like the economies of scale for the layup, like are just not going to happen with FPV most likely. But he says basically it is because of like how much is being used and produced. At least from what he's told me and talking to him about it, he's not trying to mess you up on the price. It's just like the cost of production.
No, it's just when you buy, just off the shelf 3K Twill or Torre 700, they've just got buckets and buckets of it. And so they can sell it much cheaper. But when they do this custom layup just for him, I think that's the big question with this. Like, I'm willing to take Chris's word that it's better because he seems to know what he's doing. The big question is, will people be willing to pay 25% more? And that's manufacturer's cost, right?
Yeah,
not
and
retail.
It is just the arms. So like you will just pay 25% extra for the arm cuts. So I think it's kind of, it like washes out pretty well into total frame cut cost price at least.
Yeah.
So like the top and bottom layers, you would still use normal like you would for the top and bottom of the frame and the rest of the pieces. But for the arms, you're going to use this carbon if you wanted to. So I don't know. It's cool that there's a nice option.
We'll see how many people pick it up.
Yeah.
Hey, I have a frame. I should tell Lumineer to pick it up.
Yeah.
Just try it out.
I mean, that's what his thing. He's like, I just wanted to make this available for people if they want to use it. So.
All right. Well, good guy, Chris Rosser.
I will say, just to present the whole story, I don't think he's actually releasing the specs of the layup. I'm sure you could reverse engineer the layup by breaking the carbon apart if you needed to. It is just carbon fiber. But it is his design for now. So,
all right. Next up, good guy Chris Rosser, good guy Gemfan, because Gemfan has received a patent. What do they patent, and what are they going to do with the patent? That's the question.
Yeah. So Gemfan has filed and received at this point the patent for quite a few different props I was able to dig up, but the main one that they're talking about here is going to be the 51466, and that's the information they've linked here. And essentially the idea is they're saying that, like, hey, just so you guys know, we do have this patent, we own the patent for this, and we will be enforcing this patent with other companies.
I guess like for example, this adaptation, the adaptation. Oh, this is not a T-mount, is it? That's that thing that Gemfan does where you can have a T-mount and a 5mm prop in the same prop. I've never seen that before. I think they invented it, and if they told me they patented it, I'd be like, okay. But that's not what they're talking about here. They're talking about basically the specific characteristics of the prop itself. Gemfan Hobby is actually in the chat, so they could certainly weigh in. I guess the question people are going to ask is like, what are you patenting? It's a prop. It's an airfoil. What are you patenting? I mean, I guess they received the patent, so they must have defined that in a reasonable way.
So to be clear, this is the design patent. This is not a utility patent. So this is strictly design patent. One of the confusing things, though, that I have about this, I'm not a patent lawyer. However, if you pull up that second link, if you pull up that second link we've got there, we could take a quick look at the Google patent filing. They've linked a bunch of the different props here, just a bunch of different views of it. And basically the way the design patent reads is like, hey, we're patented that stuff. But there's a separate section here, and in many of these drawings, they do broken lines. And broken lines segment out which part is patented and which part is just part of the picture, you know. So it's hard for me to understand here what exactly is marked out as a patent.
Is the middle part the part that's being patented, or is the middle part the part that's being marked out?
Well, the problem is I'm hoping Gemfan can clear this up for us, but I'm not sure how this works, because if you'll look at our next link here that I have for you, this is an example of another design patent marked as you typically would. And the difference is that you can see clearly which is not part of the patent and which is part of the patent here. But they marked those dashes there, but the sides of the prop are not dashed. So I'm not sure how this is delineating which part is which.
All right, I'm sure that they feel that it's clear. Does it say which aspect of the prop?
Well, that's the thing, is
patented?
the design patent, so it doesn't really have to do that. It just says
just like
that prop
this
in the
is what we're patenting.
So look
anything
on the left
that looks like this.
See on the left description there, and then the right.
I do see it.
Then, so that's all that's there.
I claim the ornamental design for an aircraft propeller as shown and described. So basically, nobody can release a prop that looks like this, and it's up to lawyers to figure out what is too much like that. Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So they say, Gemfan in the chat says, the full set of design characteristics for the 51466, the detailed and specific shape, hub, blade, pitch, airfoil profile, and design as a whole. But basically, something that, utility patents are meant for actual utility. So if somebody else was able to prove, like, hey, we had to make it look like this so that we got this certain thrust pattern, then they couldn't do anything about that, because if that's the only way to generate that thrust pattern provably, then that's the design you have to have, because you don't have a utility pattern on that. That's my understanding of how utility patterns work.
Gemfan seems to be saying that they have patented the 51466. That's I mean, if someone had just made a mold of a 51466 and was selling the exact same prop, I mean, I guess you could argue that's, over the line in some way. I'm not sure how you're going to define what is and isn't. Like if you look at hang on.
I think it will depend on, what the enforcement ends up looking like, right? If they do start sending messages to people, right?
Like if we look at the R38 from HQ, it is a very different, like a layperson could look at that and say that's a very different profile than, like the 51466 has a little bit of a dip here near the hub. There's a thicker part, right? It has just a very different shape. And I think anyone would agree those are different. But I guess I'm curious how you're going to define where the line is, where something is infringing versus not.
I think in this case, it's like Gemfan and their lawyers decide, they send a cease and desist, the people continue to do it or not continue to do it, and then they decide whether it's worth it to take them to court, and then if they can take them to U.S. court or not, and there's a whole thing there. So
whenever there's patent enforcement like this, it's always it's always very divisive. I'll say that, because some people feel very strongly that intellectual property deserves to be protected. Other people feel that aggressive IP protection or maybe overreaching IP protection stifles innovation, and everybody's going to come down in a different place. And then the flip side of that is that sometimes you have a patent and then you hold the patent, but you don't actually enforce it aggressively, and people are like, well, I guess you're a good guy. So I think it remains to be seen. Gemfan says in the chat, other companies are copying the prop and calling them their own design. Interesting move, and it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. Grim FPV, the patent has been granted, is our understanding.
Yeah, the patent was filed back in 2017. So this came through, or 2018, 2019, somewhere in there. But it did come through, I believe, on 2021, 9/14 was the publication. It's active until 2036. So
yeah. So interesting. I feel like that's pretty much all we have to say about it, because
yes,
we're not really qualified to do an analysis. We don't actually. Gemfan hasn't even said who else might be infringing or who else might not be. I think they're trying to sort of handle it privately to not make a big stink. But yeah. Okay.
All right.
Well, keep an eye out for that. There will not be any more props that look like a Gemfan 51466, I guess. I like that prop. Not for long, right? Okay. Moving on. What's next, Blunty?
All right, AI Drone Simulator. We talked a little bit about AI Drone Simulator. I am a big fan of it, and I feel like the physics are pretty quality on it. And they have a free DLC out that anybody can download right now if you've got AI Drone Simulator, New York City in the 1950s. However, to advertise this, they've got a contest going on. So if you want to freestyle on this map and post a video of it under 2 minutes, to their stuff and their Discord and all that jazz, you're welcome to win either first place of 200 euros, second place of 100 euros, or third place a copy of the game and 20 euros. So pretty cool.
To be clear, the DLC is free, but the simulator is not.
Yes. Yeah, if you already own the simulator, the DLC is free.
Right. The simulator is
$30, I think, right?
$30. Okay. Well done. Yeah, this is the simulator that imports your black box log and then like uses something from your black box log to make the simulator fly like your real quad, which is kind of freaking cool. Yeah. Okay. Well, I guess I was gonna say it costs you nothing to enter, but that's not true. It costs you $30 to get the simulator. I forget who it was in the chat who says, oh yeah, Jory in the Discord says, yeah, drone sim is a bit expensive. IMO, $30 is asking a lot compared to other simulators, but you're a big fan of it, Blunty. You think it flies really well, and the environments are big too.
Yeah, I mean, I bought it with my own money, that's for sure, and I thought it was totally worth the price. So, I
don't like that.
What do you mean?
Buying things with my own money. I didn't become a YouTuber so I could buy things with my own money.
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely I've refunded other sims on Steam that I've purchased. So, like, the way that I would say is, yeah, I don't know. It's more expensive, but there are extra features. It's quite configurable, and there's some cool places in it. So, I don't know. It's like, it is a little on the high side, but I think for what it gives you, it's pretty good.
Yeah. I'm just joking, by the way. Please, Bardwell's so stuck up. Did you already say?
Oh, it sounds like it's on sale currently for $20 on Steam.
Oh, let me get right. $20 is easy. That's a throwaway. $20.
Yeah, that seems super doable.
You said $20 was a throwaway. He's also so out of touch with the people.
Especially if you are a great freestyler, because you're just going to win it back
easily. I should get right on that. Jory says, compare it to Velocidrone, DRL Sim, and Liftoff. The value just isn't there. Blunty, I mean, I feel like you've played it a lot. You're a big fan. I should at least let you respond to that.
Yeah, so Velocidrone, I kind of sort of agree with you, but like if you're a racer, yes, that's what I'm going to say. If you're a racer, Velocidrone, 100%. But Velocidrone is 17 pounds for the license, and then another 5 pounds for the freestyle pack, another 8 pounds for the combat pack. So if you start adding up prices, I've definitely spent over $30 on Velocidrone at this point. So I don't know. I think it's about what you want to do. I would say if you're a racer, you definitely should have Velocidrone, and then kind of going from there, it's about what you want to do in your sim. So
there is a lot of community around DRL, Velocidrone, and Liftoff. They are, I think, the three biggest, and whichever one you get, you probably will be able to find some online community competition, multiplayer, etc. I don't think the community for this one probably is quite there yet because it's so new. Anyway, it's your money. Do what you like with it. and maybe win this prize. Well, speaking of DRL simulator, DRL has a new announcement, and I have to, I'm going to put on my excited face because this story, I don't know. I'm just not psyched for this. I don't know. I'm a hater. Are you excited for this story? Are you also a hater?
It's interesting. I don't know. I think I'm more interested in the other part of it, so we could take a look at it.
All right.
But
I promised I would pretend to be excited for the news because nobody wants to see someone be a cynic, but I just couldn't do it.
I would say the popularity of the rants say that people do want to hear a cynic, but basically they partnered with this company Draganfly. So Draganfly does a bunch of different data analysis stuff and tracking and vital sign tracking and stuff like that. So the main thing you'll see on like the consumer side is you'll start seeing extras in the DRL episodes, which are basically their camera looking at the racers and tracking heart rate, respiratory rate, blood pressure, O2 levels, and heart rate variability and stuff.
With a camera?
Yes. So they talk about it with a camera.
That's
so
kind of
there's
cool.
something about their technology that could do that. But basically, they want to use these intense situations to both test all their sensors on drones and active tech and stuff, and then on people and all these kind of things in these environments, so that hopefully they can use that to influence their production in other areas. So,
that's cute. That's cute. Yeah. I mean, it's like, well, you can know the heart rate of a racer while he's racing, and I'm
So something they talk about is like, what if we could use those same cameras to tell like, hey, what's this person in a first responder environment? Like, what's that guy's heart rate, or what's that guy's
the technology is very interesting. The ability to read people's heart rate. I saw a video. I'm going to blank on the YouTube channel it was from, but it was showing a technique that could be used to detect changes in the color of your skin. This is probably what Draganfly is doing. Maybe it's the same company, and they could tell your heart rate just by looking at video of you. And I was like, that's super interesting. Also a little bit terrifying, but I could see the potential there. I'm just not sure I see oh boy, DRL's got the partnership here. It just feels like somebody shoehorned these things together for marketing reasons. The technology's cool.
Yeah. I don't know. Hopefully they learn some stuff and it can help out with other stuff. So
yeah, I'm a hater, and that's what we should take from this story. Okay, let's do something positive that I am excited about, and we're gonna do Community Spotlight, where we focus on projects that members of not like FPV videos, because those are, there's lots of those out there, Community Spotlight, but actually different projects that people are working on. And the first one, Blunty, is this for real? It's an FPV drone simulator running on an OpenTX transmitter? This is for real?
This is an old project, but I had never heard of it. So I got a link from somebody, and I thought we had to show it because it's pretty cool.
You fly with your sticks, right?
Yeah, you fly with your sticks, and this is basically like running on a Lua right on your radio. So
all right, let's see if this is like actually... no. Okay. No. Unbelievable. Well,
pretty cool.
Good too.
This is actually from the same guy who did that tiny black box project we looked at a while back. But yeah, he also had this hanging out, and I saw it, so I thought I wanted to share it.
This makes me want to play, the Chrome game, the dinosaur jump?
Yeah,
I want to play dinosaur. Somebody make a dinosaur Lua script. No. Yeah. I'm not using my rant power for that. I'm not. I don't want to waste development effort on that. Wouldn't that be fun though? Okay, there's a link to that in the video description. I got a couple more community spotlights. Blunty, what's next?
All right, so Archimedes from the Discord and the community has created a micro TX case. He's had a couple of these before, and they're pretty neat. So I wanted to show one off. He just made this, and I think it's pretty freaking cool, man. So, yeah.
Yeah, it looks beautiful. The print quality is astounding. This is not straight out of the printer, what we're looking at now. He has smoothed it, maybe by sanding, and painted it. There is a picture of one straight out of the printer, though, and it's still pretty damn good print.
Yeah.
Really good quality print. This guy's got his printer dialed in.
Yeah, pretty neat little project there, though. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah. I wish, I said this on the live stream on Sunday, I wish somebody would pick this up. Like, if I can't print it myself, can I just buy it from Race Day Quads or BMC 3D or something?
Right.
Because it's beautiful. It is printed vertically, that is correct. And it does require supports. I asked about this on the live stream. It does require supports. It prints in this orientation. And there's supports across here. So, really beautiful. All right. Next up, we got one more. And this one, I'll take this one, Blunty, because this is from Bastian Sonderman. He is the guy who came up with the stick overlay generator app that takes your black box log and generates a beautiful stick overlay. And it's there's even a 3D version. But he's now got a version that is on the web. So it's a web-based app. You could choose a log file. Do I have anything with a black box log? I don't know if I have oh, here we go. Yeah, I got a black box log here. Have we got some logs here? Well, that's inside. Hang on. Oh yeah, here we go. Perfect. And then you hit start. Here's some parameters you can tweak. You hit start and what's missing? Oh, I see. 1 to 1. Start. And it generates a PNG sequence and outputs a PNG sequence here and renders a stick overlay for you.
Yeah, so there is one limitation currently, only one major limitation with this is just that you have to watch it in your browser, like you have to leave your browser window up while it's running. It's just a limitation of the background stuff on the browser. But otherwise, yeah, this is pretty cool, man.
Now, I have to point out that he also has a Windows app. So if you run Windows and you're comfortable downloading this executable and running it, does he... Where is Bastian? Where's your other project?
I can link that.
Blunty, you have it handy?
Yep.
Oh, he's pasting it in the... There we go. So he also, if you want an app to download, this is a desktop app that does basically the same thing. And frankly, I mean, it's faster. He says the web version is faster. I'm not sure how that's true. It can do batch exporting and it can run in the background. You don't have to leave your browser window up. So there's also this that does basically the same thing. And it's pretty freaking cool.
Yep. He's also the one who did some other cool little tools that we've looked at before, like the Be a Heli music converter that we looked at, the black box to sound thing and stuff. So yeah, lots of cool work from him.
Nice. Yeah, the other limitation of the web version is that it outputs a PNG sequence, which you have to then import into your video editor as a video because there's no way to well, he said it could output WebM, but it can't do transparency then. Whereas the desktop version will just output a video file with transparency. So the desktop version is nice, but not everybody has the option to do that. Now there's a web version. Thank you, Bastian, for the work. I use that in some of my videos. Yeah. Alrighty. We got just a couple more. We got a feel-good story here, Blunty. Drones doing good in the world.
Yes. So we've talked a little bit about how delivery doesn't look too positive for a lot of traditional delivery services that we've talked about. However, there are some services that it does look like drones will be a good application for. And that looks to be, one of these things looks to be delivering organs. So this is the first delivery by drone of an organ that was transplanted right after delivery to someone who was waiting on their transplant surgery. And typically, they talked a lot about how this logistically frees up staff, this frees up cost, this frees up the airways from the helicopter that normally has to take it. There's a lot of different things that this really help to achieve that they're hoping this will pan out and they can continue to do this.
Yeah, it's easy to think of this kind of thing as just a novelty. But, I mean, a helicopter is a huge, expensive vehicle that requires a highly, highly trained pilot. And when a helicopter has a problem, it's a giant gasoline-filled thing that has a problem that's bad. So if you could take some of this stuff and translate it over to drones, which are smaller, they're less expensive to run, and they just, take up less space in the airways, that's all a good thing. Yeah, it's not just a novelty.
Yeah, this did have a parachute on it for anybody asking. So worst case, it would land somewhere and then they could get it.
Yeah, I'm sure they did a lot of dry runs before they actually carried the organ.
Yes. Yeah. But basically, this was a pretty short flight, but they were pretty excited to see this move forward. So I think a lot of the people here are on board with what happened. So I don't know. It's pretty exciting.
It feels like these short flights, people might be, it was 1.5 miles. It feels like these short flights are actually the places where drones are really, really important. That to take off a helicopter and then fly it 1 mile across town and land it, it's like, well, that's a kind of overkill. But if you've got a patient at one hospital and they're the lung donor, they're not using them anymore, I guess. And then you need to get the lungs as quickly as possible to the other hospital where the patient is waiting for the transplant. It actually seems like a drone is the perfect application there.
Yeah. Yeah. Very cool.
All right.
So maybe drone deliveries will happen, just not in the way many would expect.
Yeah. Not my Amazon package, you're saying.
Right.
All righty. Blunty, what's next?
All right. So you like to rant. I mean, we like to rant, but you like to rant sometimes about features that are missing. And one of those features you ranted about was PWM. You wanted PWM solutions for Express LRS. And so we got 2 different solutions previously to this. We got CR Servo F, which is a project by Captain Bry, that you could do a custom solutions to get CRSF to PWM. And then Maytech released some boards that convert CRSF to PWM. But now we've got a third solution, again from Mr. Bry.
Captain Bry, working his butt off.
If you don't want to do any of those things, you can instead get PWM on one of your little Express LRS receivers, your EP receivers.
Yeah,
so this is kind of...
Just to be clear, in case anybody missed the very beginning of this or didn't keep up, this is for people who want to run planes with servos on Express LRS, which currently there isn't a great solution for, because Express LRS receivers don't output PWM. Except now, as you're pointing out, Blunty, there are several solutions.
Yeah. So basically, this, all he did here was basically convert. The best he could do was solder 3 pins, so 3 sides here. But he says it's possible to get 5 with the breakouts properly on the board if some manufacturer wanted to cover it in an edge case. But yeah, he basically get 3 servo outputs on a typical EP2.
Nice. You're almost to the number of channels that a typical plane uses. I mean, if you had some kind of crossfire to PWM converter, I think Maytech made one of those, didn't they?
Yes. Yeah, Maytech made a CRSF to PWM converter. So
yeah, you get full 16 channels then.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So we still have it's great to have options. If there's a firmware you can flash to your EP2 receiver and you get 3 PWM outputs, that's perfect for, as 33 Eyes points out, that's perfect for a ground vehicle, for example. Cars only need 2 channels typically. So, and the bottom line is that I whined, and then Captain Bry did the work and made it happen. And that just encourages me to whine and rant some more, because apparently it gets results. Sorry, Captain Bry. I don't need you to do it specifically, but thank you. Now, Archimedes points out, before we move on, Archimedes points this out, the Crossfire 6-channel PWM adapter. That is not actually a PWM converter. People always point this out when we talk about this. The Crossfire module, the Crossfire receiver has the ability to output PWM natively, and all this does is give you pins. It just gives you something to plug into. But the receiver is generating the PWM signal, and that's not something that an Express LRS receiver can do.
Yes.
Go ahead, Blunty, you're gonna say something.
All right, no, you got it covered. So I think it's time to move on to this week's rant.
Yes. What are we ranting about?
All right, it's time to yell at DJI. I think most people will enjoy us doing that.
Oh, yeah.
MadsTech has released a video kind of summarizing our history with canvas mode on DJI and a little bit of the drama that surrounded CADX encryption that we've talked about here previously. And then is putting a new call out to say, listen, guys, where's this canvas mode? What's the status? CADX said it's happening. We haven't heard anything for a while now. Like, is this real? Is it, that sort of thing. So, I think we're asking the same thing. Like, look, where is it?
Yeah.
Stop making shit up if it's not going to come. MadsTech points out here, and he doesn't go too much into it, but I think most people who are watching and paying attention would know that right around the time he got upset about CADX's encryption, they decided to toss in the fact that they were adding canvas mode to sort of appease people, I think, at the time.
Right.
And the question is, was that really an appeasement, or was that them trying to push something forward? So
the timing certainly was suspicious, right? When everybody was kind of mad at them for saying they were going to encrypt their cameras and lock RunCam out. They were like, oh, we changed our mind. We're not going to do that. Oh, and canvas mode's coming. Well, we want it because Betaflight OSD, with the canvas mode, in case anybody doesn't know, would give us the full Betaflight OSD in the DJI goggles. No, this one isn't supported. LQ isn't supported. And by the way, we have to acknowledge SharkBite supported canvas mode for a while now. So get with it, DJI.
Yeah, and it's also important to point out, CADX talks about in their previews, like, we are working on this solution. However, from everything we know, internal and external sources, I think most of us are at this point, I would say I'm 98.5% sure CADX has no input on the firmware. They basically are just emailing an engineering department or talking to some guy on the phone, and they say, here's what we want, and then DJI does all the work for that firmware.
Especially because now RunCam also is making the RunCam Link VTX, which is the same damn VTX. Obviously, if CADX was actually the one developing the firmware, then there would be divergence between the CADX and the RunCam VTXs, which clearly that is not going to happen. Yeah, that DJI, as much as DJI is kind of letting CADX and RunCam serve the FPV market, and DJI's like, nah, we don't want to slum with those guys anymore. I don't think they're going to allow that to happen. No. I don't see it.
Yeah. So unfortunately, I think what we ended up getting was CADX going, yeah, we'll do it. And then, MadsTech talks about in this video, he, CADX reached out to him and said, hey, can you send us what you have on canvas mode? We don't know what canvas mode is really. Can you let us know what it is and tell us what we need to do? Mm-hmm. And so they got that info from him, and then he sent them over to another person, one of the RadioKing devs, I believe. He sent them a whole bunch more info on canvas mode, and then that's the last we heard. So unfortunately, I think it's very possible that CADX was like, here's a bunch of info, make canvas mode, and that was the extent of the conversation with DJI. But we can only hope that something else is going to happen.
Chibi Kaiju asks, is canvas mode so difficult to implement? Well, I don't see what the hurdles are. Right, it's just development time. It's just code. Look, I've seen code. It's just a bunch of letters and lines, and there's some curly brackets and stuff. Like, I can do that. Hang on. Look.
Oh, no.
Look. Here's the thing, guys.
Haven't seen this one in a while.
See? Look, I'm doing it right now. It's not that hard. Okay. So for those of you, I'm right in canvas mode. Go ahead, Blunty.
So for those of you that don't know, canvas mode is essentially the ability to either, there's a couple of different implementations, I believe. One is that the software could essentially pass over any strings that need to be put somewhere. And then it can pass over all the strings with the data, and those can go wherever on the goggles, right, as orientation. So basically OSD, like Betaflight could do, it can just put stuff wherever it wants it. But the other version of canvas mode, the deeper version that I think most of us want as well, is that pixel control. So essentially, like, the software could say, hey, draw a pixel here, but not here. So you could put images or text or full OSD control, like slider control in Betaflight, for instance. Mm-hmm. Things like that would be really cool to have from the OSD. So again, I don't think we're asking for that much. It is, like you said, just code. We saw what you did.
I mean, Chibi Kaiju says, honestly, I'm wondering what goes into developing it. Honestly, I don't know. I don't know how, but I imagine, like, if you said, well, we're just going to make this one tiny change, right? Canvas mode is a whole thing, right? There's a lot to it right? And on the one hand, what's this? You're just drawing pixels on screen. Okay, but you're fitting that into the data stream in a way. There's the interface, there's the MSP interface between the VTX and the flight controller. Then you have to carry that data over to the VTX, to the camera. Like, I would say it's a non-trivial feature to implement.
Yeah, the main concern I've seen is just like how much room did they pre-assign for the spot for the OSD in that transmission? You know, because if they were planning on getting this amount of OSD info and now they're getting a whole bunch more, maybe there's some limit to that buffer or how much they can shove in there. So yeah. Again,
so it may require some reshuffling of the air protocol. And, you know, surely DJI implements, I would guess they implement a generic digital data stream over the air, and they can slice that up any way they want. So if they say they've got 50 megabits per second per video, and then like the DJI FPV drone has an audio stream, it feels like there should be enough bits there to carry the OSD information, but they have to actually sort of make that happen. And it's not just like, oh yeah, we'll do that tomorrow.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we want it. We know they can do it. It's just a matter of getting them to decide to do it. And with DJI, sometimes that's just a matter of like, you just have to shout at them long enough that the right person hears you. Oh, what's that sound from down there? Oh, yeah, we can do that. Guys, go do it. But it takes a while.
Yeah. So hopefully we'll see canvas mode. Yeah. We can hope. DJI, get on it.
Locrian says it's a matter of resourcing. They don't think it's a priority. Locrian, I have to say, DJI is an incomprehensibly large organization. I can't tell you how many times, okay, it's like 2 times, but that's more than you'd think. I can't tell you how many times I have finally talked to the one person in DJI who actually is the person who can make something happen. And they go, oh yeah, we could do that. No, that makes sense. We'll do that. And I'm like, well, we've been asking for it for a year. And he's like, oh, I just didn't know. And you're like, how did you not know? And he's like, you know, we've just been shouting at the wrong people because all we see are sort of marketing people and social media people. And then when you finally get an engineer on who can make a decision, they just do it. So that's what I'm guessing is going on. All right. Is that it? Are we done?
I think so. Yeah, we didn't go too long. So.
Awesome. Only 10 to 15 minutes over. Thank you guys so much for coming out. We got a couple super chats we got to read, Blunty. Get your ending spiel ready. Daniel Carroll, thank you for a $10 super chat. I should have listened to you last week. Don't tune around a mechanical problem. Since it was a brand new build, I ignored that advice. After 3 days, I heard your voice haunting me. 2 slipped motor magnets. I cannot tell you how often people say to me, I say, well, it sounds like you've got a bad ESC. And they're like, it's brand new. I'm like, well, brand new things break too. Maybe it's broken. No, I just built it. It's fine. Yeah. Okay, maybe it's not.
I'm gonna change the ramp up power and see if that changes anything. It's like, okay, but you have a stutter and you've lost a phase, so it's not coming back.
Yep. Anyway, Grim FPV, thanks for 50 Norwegian kroner. Has anyone registered and configured DJI FPV goggles receiver transmitter on Linux and Wine? Oof. I don't know the answer to that. I don't see why that wouldn't work. Wine is a Windows emulator on Linux.
Yeah, I am not sure on that one.
Well, if the chat has done that, I guess let us know. Otherwise, Grim, thank you for the donation, but we don't know the answer. And Thunder Goose, thanks for $2. Bardwell has already done more than DJI has. Thunder Goose, I'm going to throw that that accolade to MadsTech. As much as I love it when people say nice things about me, MadsTech has been the one, if I had to pick one person who has kind of driven long-standing resistant changes to the DJI or gotten information out there about DJI, it's MadsTech. I don't know how he has their ear in a way that no one else seems to, but I would throw that to him. So, all right. There we go.
Well,
thank you guys for coming.
Yeah, so like every week, we always want you to email news@fpvknowitall.com. It's on the screen the whole time. It's always there for you to email if you want. Also, go down there and hit subscribe to this channel if somehow you're not subscribed to this channel, so you can get great information from Mr. Bardwell here. Give a like, a little thumbs up. It's just one click for a thumbs up here. And then also after this, if you could go comment on the video, that's also super helpful. Or just tell your friends about the news. Maybe your friends don't watch the news or don't know about it. It'd be cool if you let them know.
And one other thing to point out is I am uploading every single one of these segments to my new JB Livestream Clips channel. So if you don't like watching the whole news, but you just want to go through individual topics, you can. I'm also uploading some of my favorite clips from my actual live streams. If you don't want to watch the whole live stream and just want kind of the highlights, go and subscribe over there. I'll put a link in the video description. And I would love to have your subscription over there. Alrighty. Thank you guys so much. That's going to do it. Blunty, good night. I'll see you next week.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Joshua. Take it easy.
There we go.